Hello and welcome back to live coverage of F1 Academy from Austin, Texas. We're here at the Circuit of the Americas for the final round of the year of this inaugural series. 2 practice sessions down and things now start to ramp up for our 15 drivers. It's qualifying ahead of 3 races held across Saturday and Sunday, and this is the track they'll be hurtling their F1 Academy cars around. Second longest circuit on the F1 Academy calendar. It's a hectic lap for the drivers to get to grips with as well. 20 corners, undulating, bumpy, the most amount of corners of any track that we've been to this season, and this, the 7th and final round of F1 Academy. We will crown our champion at some stage across the weekend. There are still 3 title contenders. Marta Garcia, Lena Bühler and Hamda Al-Qubaisi are in the top 3 of the championship, and they are still in with a chance. Garcia currently has a 48-point lead in front of Lena Bühler, and Hamda Al-Qubaisi a further 8 points behind. So Marta Garcia has the advantage for now, but things in motorsport can change very quickly. Ahead of us in terms of qualifying, we have 2 15-minute qualifyings coming up back to back, the first of which will set the grid for race 1. Will be as they qualified. Then the top 8 are reversed for race 2, and that sets the grid for race 2. Then the second qualifying session sets the grid for race 3. Points are also up for grabs when it comes to pole position. It's 2 points for race 1 and 2 points for pole for race 3. No points if you get reverse grid pole. It's a lovely sunny day. Track temperature 38.4 degrees, air temperature 35.3 degrees. We've had the F1 running. It's now time for the Academy running, and guiding you through all the coverage is myself, Harry Benjamin, and joining me for the coverage this afternoon is Naomi Schiff. Hello Naomi, how are you?
Hello Harry, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm looking forward to this. We've had a good couple of practice runnings where it's been 2 very different characteristics. Right at the start of the morning, it was such a cold track. The first bit of track running that they got was this morning for F1 Academy. Now we've had some rubber laid down by the F1 cars. We've had another practice session as well. The cars are getting quicker. The drivers are getting more confident. I think it's going to be an all-out fight.
Absolutely, and it's going to be about how much these drivers can adapt to the different conditions out there. And remember, there's only 15 minutes of the session, so that's not a lot of time to get up to grips. It's, you know, it's one of those things that tests the drivers' skills in terms of how quickly they can adapt to these changing conditions. It is so hot out here in Austin. It's 35 degrees air temperature out there right now. The track temperature is 38 degrees at 5:30 in the afternoon. So challenging for the drivers as well on, as you mentioned, a track with 20 corners. It's a big challenge for those drivers out there this afternoon.
But I suppose that's part of the point, isn't it, of F1 Academy? We've been to such a wide variety of circuits. We started at the Red Bull Ring, then Valencia, Catalonia, Zandvoort, Monza and Paul Ricard. And I suppose the idea of F1 Academy is as well to promote female talent across the board on and off track, but also to get them to grips with such different types of tracks and understanding what's required, because I think that's probably quite easy to underestimate the different intricacies that are required for different tracks.
Absolutely, and obviously in this day and age, you know, we have fantastic devices like racing simulators that, you know, allow drivers to adapt to circuits a little quicker than maybe drivers would have been able to do in the past. But, you know, what's fantastic about this series is there's just great amount of track time for these drivers. There's 15 days of, you know, pre-season testing. And on top of that, I saw that quite a lot of the drivers were out here doing some testing on this track before this race weekend. So I think a lot of them are up to scratch in terms of the track. But obviously, as you said, you know, they've been Formula 1 cars just gone out for qualifying, so grip levels will probably be slightly different to what they've had the advantage of, you know, potentially testing out here a couple of weeks ago. But like you say, you know, this is it's a championship that tries to, you know, carve out the talented drivers from the rest, and these are moments where drivers like this can really prove what they can do in these trickier conditions where, you know, there is a bit of an unknown factor going out there this afternoon.
Absolutely. We can have a little listen to one of our drivers talking a little earlier on. Here she is in the car, but we spoke to her earlier, Hamda Al-Qubaisi.
I like the Austin circuit because it's very challenging. I like how the first part of the track are the S's. They're very challenging and hard to, you know, find a good and right line. So I really like this track. It's pretty long, so we can't really compensate for mistakes, so it's going to make it more challenging for us drivers to be able to qualify at the top spot, so I'm excited for it.
Amna Al-Qubaisi there, she's excited for it. I think we all are. The 23-year-old from the United Arab Emirates, the older of the Al-Qubaisi sisters, Hamda Al-Qubaisi, also in the field, and she is very much still in title contention. But Amna also managing to get a couple of wins on the board as well. She currently lies 6th in the Drivers' Championship with 2 wins, a pole and 4 podiums. This is Abby Pulling though, and Naomi, you've raced against Abby Pulling previously in the W Series as well, and I think it was here a couple of years ago Abby Pulling came in and managed to get pole position and a podium as well, and it really set the world alight. How much do you rate somebody like Abby Pulling?
Yeah, so unfortunately I actually didn't have the luxury of racing against Abby. She actually came into W Series once I'd already left. But you know, from the moment she came into W Series, she initially came in as a reserve driver, or she had an opportunity to jump in the car, and straight off the bat she just proved that she was a contender. And then obviously in the last season of W Series she, you know, showed exactly how much talent she had by being at the front of the pack for quite a lot of the season. So this season I've actually been surprised to see that she's a little bit further down in the championship order than I expected, but obviously there have been some other factors that have, you know, caused her to not score points on some occasions. But she's a talented driver. I mean, definitely don't count her out. She knows what she's doing in a race car.
Absolutely. Well, as they all peel into the fast lane for qualifying, we are about to get underway. But you're right, Abby Pulling down in 5th. Managed to get a pole position in Paul Ricard for race 1, but then a disqualification in race 3. So, as you say, Naomi, it's been really up and down for her. Not always within her control, either technical infringements getting in the way of her and her Rodin Carlin teammates. But green light at the end of the pit lane as Stephanie Carlin, the team principal of Rodin Carlin, watches on, and they head out onto this track, the Circuit of the Americas, just over 5.5 kilometers, over 3.4 miles, 20 turns, 11 to the left and 9 to the right, an anti-clockwise track. And Naomi, what are the drivers doing now? The first lap out there, getting their bearings, trying to find space?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. Obviously, you know, you come out in the order you're in based off of where your teams are placed in the pit lane. So they've probably got a couple of tricks up their sleeves. One thing you mentioned was the Al-Qubaisi sisters. You know, what a fantastic thing to be racing against sisters. It must be such an interesting dynamic. But from what I've heard, they try their best to use that to their advantage. So they might be working together to find space on track and maybe give each other a tow on a track like this that could really, you know, give you a bit of an advantage. So it's about track position. It's about warming up your tires. I can't see so well from where, you know, from the monitors here, who's on new tires, who's on used tires, but getting that temperature in, starting to get your eye line dialed in and knowing exactly where you're going to place your car, where you're going to brake, heating up the tires as you can see them, you know, swerving from one side to the other. That's to generate heat in the tires. So it's all about getting that car dialed in, getting themselves dialed in, but most importantly, finding the right spot on the track so they don't come into traffic in this very short session. Yeah, absolutely. You can see them weaving left and right to get heat into the tires, to get them up to temperature down that back straight. And speaking to Alice Powell a little earlier on before this qualifying session, she coaches Abby Pulling, and she was saying actually in terms of tyres, you can use some old tyres if you want to, but she's expecting, at least from her perspective, everybody to be out there on a set of new tyres. But we'll try and bring you that information when we get to a little bit of a look at. Here's Bianca Bustamante. She's recently signed to the McLaren driver program in Formula 1, and we caught up with her earlier.
Well, I prepare for the, for quality. I think it requires a lot of mental fortitude to kind of build yourself up for that one mega lap that can really set you to pole. And so, yeah, a lot of visual thinking, analyzation, of course, all the work you've done prior to the event, it definitely counts up to that moment.
Bianca Bustamante there, currently lies 7th in the Drivers' Championship, 2 wins and 4 podiums to her name. And how good is that, Naomi, for F1 Academy? We've already got a couple of F1 affiliates with Abby Pulling with Alpine and Lena Buller with the Sauber Formula 1 team. It starts to get very busy in the pit lane, doesn't it? Very frantic there. But also the news on top of this that all 10 F1 teams will have an affiliate driver and subsequent F1 livery on 10 of the cars in 2024 for F1 Academy. That's exactly what we need to be doing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that news, when we heard that all 10 of the teams were committing to have a car on the grid in their livery as well as a driver in their colors, a driver who, I'm not entirely sure exactly what extent each team is going to be giving support to their drivers, but this has been the first announcement, with Bianca being the first driver to be announced as a McLaren driver, and she's been put into their development program. So the value of that is just enormous. I mean, it's already one thing for them to be able to be competing in this series with feeder series teams that are competing in F2 and F3. The knowledge that they can get from being, involved with these types of teams like Prema, who we're seeing on screen here, as well as in the future F1 teams, is absolutely huge. And it's great to see, the commitment from the paddock to support females in the sport. And I think, it's one thing for us to want it for ourselves. It's a great thing for these types of initiatives to exist, but we need our male allies in the sport to be with us, to be pushing us forward, and this is a great example of that.
It absolutely is. The clock is counting down. 10.5 minutes still to go of this first 15-minute qualifying session, which will set the grid for races 1 and 2. The top 8 at the end of this is reversed, and that forms the grid for race 2. But we talk a lot about the drivers and the opportunities for them, but I think we've got to remember it's not just about those on track, is it? Because I think Megan Gilkes emphasised this massively, the Canadian racer down at Road in Carlin. This is going to be her last race. So here's Chloe Grant first.
Please make sure that I go out in front of the car, or else she'll just hold me up.
And Chloe Grant then laying down the law, doesn't want to be stuck behind her teammate Gary Schreiner. But just to see off the previous points about Megan Gilkes, she's announced she's going to end her professional racing career. She's 22 years old. She ends it after this round. But it's to take up a position as a graduate performance engineer with Aston Martin in Formula One. And to be taking up that kind of position in an engineering performance role, I think it's just fantastic, because it's not just about promoting on-track talent. We need to promote the off-track talent as well.
Of course, and it's amazing to see that, she has the ability not only to drive the car, but also to do something that, still keeps her in this paddock. I was lucky enough that once I hung up my helmet, I'm able to stay in the paddock. But you're absolutely right. There is a whole ecosystem in motorsport where, women can have opportunities. And for Megan, I remember her racing in W Series in 2019 as well. She took some years out. She was racing back in the US, and now she's made a comeback in F1 Academy. And maybe it's not gone her way. Obviously, there's also financial restrictions on these drivers. They have to pay up to 150,000 euros to be in these seats, and maybe she doesn't have but we don't know what the factors are for her to decide at her young age to hang up her helmet. But the future's still bright for her, and there's a lot of opportunities out there, and it's fantastic for her to be able to get into a role in such a great program that's going to keep her involved in the sport that she loves.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people willing Megan Gilkes on for what will be her final professional motorsport races. So then everyone's starting to peel out of the garage. In fact, everybody is out there. So we get our first proper flying laps with 8 minutes to go. The sunshine still glaring down. This is Nerea Marti making her way up towards turn 1 over a 100-foot incline. It's 30 Formula One cars stacked up on top of each other. That's how steep the hill is up to turn 1, and then it's straight back down again before you head into the fast sector.
I've got your iron FP2. Let's have it.
There's Jess Edgar, who was fastest in free practice 2, speaking on the radio. But Marti actually had an issue in free practice 2. We believe it was a suspected suspension failure, which caused her to lose 15 minutes. Naomi, that obviously puts her a little bit on the back foot heading into this qualifying.
Absolutely. Obviously, track time is paramount. It's everything you need to get yourself where you want to be. 15 minutes sounds like not much, but when you've got,
the triple right-hander of 16, 17, 18, through the left-hander of 19. One more corner to go for Nerea Marti to get her first competitive lap time on the board. You can see how hard she's working the steering wheel of that F1 Academy car, and she puts in a 2:10.1. Lovenfoss, though, a teammate, immediately displaces her and goes fastest with a 2:09.7. Gilkes heads up to third. Bianca Bustamante fastest of anybody in the first sector. Handa Alcobacy heads to the top of the timing screens. We await Marta Garcia, our title contender, in the number 15 red and white Prema. She goes fastest. Bustamante can't pip her. And our other title contender of Lena Buller still out there as well. She's fastest of anybody in the middle sector, the Swiss racer backed by the Sauber F1 team. Fastest of anybody. Pulling comes across in third. Jess Edgar will be next across the line. She's fifth. Then comes Buller. What can she do? It's fastest for the Swiss, a 2:08.7. Nice tidy lap early doors from Lena Buller.
Fantastic effort from Lena, and you know, she's got a lot of pressure on her shoulders this weekend. She almost cannot put a foot wrong if she stands a chance of taking this title away from Marta Garcia. And for her to be putting the pressure out there, you can see her lap times. Obviously, it's very, very close out at the front, just, you know, 0.05 of a second splitting the top three. So it's very close. Obviously, you're going to go for some more laps. You can see some people on the board. Marta Garcia's got a purple sector 1 right now. It's going to be tight out there, but Lena needs to keep it out in front for her to have a chance.
Oh, very wide from Nerea Marti once again, coming out of the back of the main straight. This is such a fan favourite, driver favourite circuit, isn't it, Naomi? Lock up from Marti. Seen that a lot as well, coming into the tight turn 15. But I mean, do you have a particular favourite part of this track? What's the most challenging part as a driver around this COTA circuit?
So to go to the beginning of what you just said there, honestly, I've never raced on this track, but I've done many, many laps on this track on a racing simulator, and it is honestly one of my favorites. If tomorrow you said to me, tomorrow you can race on a track that you've not raced on before, which would it be? It would absolutely be COTA. Fantastic track. It's a track that's got, you know, so much flow, especially in Sector 1. Sector 2, slightly less challenging. Obviously, you've got the track limits issues there as well, as you mentioned. But Sector 3 is where it really, really gets tough. It really gets technical. You've got a couple of corners in, you know, 13, 14, 15, where you've really got to place the car perfectly to get a good exit out of 15 and around 16, 17, 18. So that whole sector is where you've got to really focus, and it's the end of the lap, so you know at that point you've probably done, you know where you stand in terms of the lap, and you've got to either absolutely not make a mistake there, or you know the lap's already over, or you still have something to gain. So the pressure is on in Sector 3, and it's a sector that requires connecting every single one of the dots.
It is a challenging track, and while you were chatting, we've had some fast lap times, and it's only 0.003 of a second splitting provisional pole, which is currently occupied by our title contender Marta Garcia. Abby Pulling, here she is in car number 10 in the pink and black Rodin Carlin, backed by the Alpine Formula 1 team, pulling in second. Bustamante, 0.5 tenth behind, then Buller Chong, youngest driver on the grid, in fifth.
2:10.1, 2:10.3. You're currently P2. Good job.
Buller gets up to third at the end of that. So nice feedback from Pulling there, where she can go quicker and where she is already quick. Chong fifth, Marti, Edgar, Hamda Alcobacy, Amna Alcobacy, and Emily de Hoos rounds out the top 10. That's Jessica Hawkins, the Aston Martin affiliate driver, most recent female driver now to have taken to the wheel of a Formula 1 car, which was fantastic to see her given that opportunity and spearheading the way for our young drivers here in F1 Academy. Jess Edgar has been looking quick very much all weekend long so far. Fastest of anybody in practice too. Jess Edgar could spring a surprise here. She's fastest of anybody in that first sector. She's not in the hunt for anything to do with the title, but I suppose, Naomi, that means she's got absolutely nothing to lose.
She hasn't, and that's probably, you know, giving her less to worry about in the session. There's probably less pressure on her shoulders. She's probably just enjoying herself out there. But there's always points you want to put on the table. I mean, there's a championship order that you still, at the end of the year, you know, people are going to look back and say, where did you finish in the championship? So points are always points, right down to the end, they matter, and she's still going to want to claim everything out there, even if it's not for the championship title.
Points absolutely mean prizes, don't they? Marta Garcia crosses the line and stays in P1, gets a faster time though, 2:08.2 the time to beat. Edgar, personal best in the middle sector, round the final corner. Edgar, who's got 2 podiums so far to her name this year, searching for her first pole position. What can she do? Loses a bit of time. It's only 4th for Edgar as Bula crosses the line. She can't improve either. She stays in 3rd. This is Chloe Chong, the 3rd of the Prema drivers, the youngest in the field, round the final corner. This looks like it might be one of Chong's best qualifying so far of the year. Fantastic work for her to get up into the top 5 in front of Bustamante, but Garcia has a 3/10 gap at the moment. But what do we have here with Abby Pulling? Are we about to get a lap time deleted for some track limits? Oh, that is hard work, right? Look at that.
Car control at its finest. I mean, it's great to see those moments like that. These girls in these cars, you know, don't underestimate them. She's just showing, you know, obviously she's made a slight mistake going into there. Obviously that's going to cost her time, but still she's caught it fantastically, and on she goes.
So in terms of our title contenders, Lena Buller is one of them. This is her. She's currently in 3rd. On provisional pole is Marta Garcia, the other and the leader in the title race at the moment. And Hamda Al-Qubaisi still with an outside chance. She's currently down in 8th, about a second off, so she needs to find some time now, but it doesn't look like she's going to be able to do so. Hamda Al-Qubaisi not able to find that, but Marta Garcia looks like she has sealed the deal as Marty crosses the line. She goes 3rd fastest. I think Garcia's got this in the bag with a 3:10 gap. Hamda Al-Qubaisi's on a lap at the moment, not finding a huge amount of time. This is the other Prema, the Garcia Prema, who has decided, yep, she has done enough. She heads into the pits. She's not going to put in another lap. Marta Garcia, I think, will secure pole position for race 1. And that is one step closer to the title for the first ever F1 Academy Series. Garcia's doing all she has to do, isn't she, Naomi?
She absolutely is, and you know, for her to come out of this qualifying session on top of the chart is going to give her a real boost for this weekend. You know, the simplest way I could simplify it down to with the permutations for this weekend for her was that if Elena Bula won every race and scored points in both qualifying sessions, all that Marta would need to do is score 18 points, so now she will be scoring 2. If none of her laps get deleted. I don't know if you saw a couple of cars had their lap times deleted. Car 16, Bustamante, Chloe Chong as well, who you said was having one of her best qualifyings yet. She's still on the lap though. Oh no, that's Chloe Grant, sorry about that. But you know, fantastic for
Easily
Marta.
done.
Fantastic for Marta to be on provisional pole right now, and I think that's going to give her a real boost going into quali 2.
Here comes Chloe Grant though, still on a decent lap for Grant. She's down in 13th at the moment, just about keeps it within the track limits, to the line for Grant, and gets up into 9th spot. So lost a little bit of time in that final sector, but she's the 2nd best ART on the road. The 3rd best is Carrie Schreiner, who comes across the line and puts her ART into 14th spot. But I think has another lap time just been deleted? I think it might have been Chloe Chong's just slid down the order, again down to 12th. So I wonder if it's just waiting to come up on our screen, and there it has Bustamante and Chong. Track limits at turn 19. So they have been subbed down. But here's Abby Pulling, who'll be on the front row.
Really, really good job. Really good job. That's P2. P2.
The change is amazing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, really good job adapting there.
Really good result there from Abby Pulling to line up 2nd on the grid for race 1, sharing that with Marta Garcia, Marty, Buller and Edgar, the top 5, Bustamante, Al-Qubaisi and Chloe Grant at the top 8. Now that actually means, I mean, Chloe Grant, if all remains the same, touch wood, no more track limits violations, Chloe Grant will get the reverse grid pole for race 2.
How exciting. I mean, I've never been a part of a race where there is a reverse grid like that, but to be handed a pole position like that and then try to fight for your life out there to keep the cars in front of cars who theoretically are slightly quicker than you. It also gives the other drivers, you know, who are fighting through the field an opportunity to be practicing a bit of their overtaking. It does obviously create slightly more exciting racing because the cars aren't in their typical qualifying order. So definitely some exciting racing going to come for race 2 given that order there. But yeah, fantastic to see that for her, and I'm sure she's going to have a big smile on her face about it. She's dropped down tonight, hasn't she?
Yeah. I was just about to say such lovely things, Naomi, but unfortunately...
What it does do, though, is it puts Hamda Al-Khawaisi on pole position for race 2. She's really going to need that. I mean, there's only 8 points splitting herself and Bula in the championship. So even if that championship title is slightly out of reach, although it is still possible, second place in the championship is still very much a possibility for Hamda. So she's definitely going to have a big smile on her face.
Yeah, that's good news then for Hamda Al-Khawaisi. Bad news for Chloe Grant. She'll still get a top 10 start, though, for both races, so she could do some work from there. We don't see that very often from race control, do we, Naomi? A lap time reinstated for Chloe Chong. So that puts her back up into 7th spot. And there is Chloe Chong there. So she'll be a bit relieved there. And you can see a fist pump from Chong. So let's get confirmation then of how that first qualifying ended up. It is our title leader, Marta Garcia, who will start race 1 from pole in front of Abby Pulling and Nerea Marti. Lena Buller, our other title contender, in 4th in front of Jess Edgar. Bianca Bustamante will be 6th. Then comes Chong, Hamda Al-Khawaisi in 8th. That does mean reverse grid pole for race 2 for the 3rd of our title contenders. In front of Grant and Lola Lovenfoss, the top 10. Amalie de Hoos in 11th. Then came Amna Al-Khawaisi. Megan Gilkes in 13th in front of Carrie Schreiner. And Maita Caceres will start 15th and last for race 1. So, beautiful scenes around this Austin, Texas track, and what a beautiful view if you can get it from that fantastic observation tower. It's got a 360-degree panoramic view of a circuit, Naomi, when was the last time you saw a lap time reinstated by race control? I can't remember.
I don't think I've ever seen that. This could be a first for me. I don't know if it's a first for you, but I've never seen that happen. And obviously, she's going to be really happy about that. They must have made a mistake, which is very, uncommon because some of these decisions are made with sensors. Some of them, they've got CCTV footage all around the track. They should be able to see exactly what's going on out there. But that's exactly what would have pushed down Chloe Grant and obviously given Hamda Al-Khawaisi that 8th place. So, some win, some lose.
And that's the name of the game, isn't it? But a little bit of a pause then. We'll get Q2 started in a couple of minutes. Here is Chloe Chong.
It's 11 laps now. They will be reinstated our time, so now we are P7. Very good job.
I almost had a heart attack when he told me that my time was deleted. I think it was T19, so I'll try to be safe and do some laps there.
Fantastic from Chloe Chong there, who is remaining calm in the cockpit of that Prema. So that will be a good start for her. It will give her P2 in the reverse grid race as well. So good work there from Chloe Chong, but still another qualifying session to go, which will start at 6 o'clock local time, so just a few minutes away before we get that second session underway. Another 15 minutes, same scenario, but it sets the grid for our 3rd race that we will have on Sunday for the weekend. While we have this little break, Naomi, one of the big talking points coming into this weekend was the announcement of the 2024 F1 Academy calendar, 7-round calendar, and it's joining up with Formula One full-time for the 7 rounds. F1 Academy will be a support racer: Saudi Arabia, Miami, Barcelona, Zandvoort, Singapore, Qatar and Abu Dhabi. That's really good news to see, because it's all well and good being a series on your own, but to be under the spotlight of Formula One just brings so much more to the situation.
Absolutely, it's huge. I mean, from that perspective, COTA had record-breaking amounts of audiences last year. They had 440,000 spectators out here last year. So for the eyeballs to just get, people watching women's sport is so incredibly important for them to be able to succeed. So it's fantastic for them to be on such an incredible platform like the Formula One calendar at 7 incredible locations. I mean, some of those races are real highlights of the season. And for these drivers as well to be learning F1 tracks, and racing at such a high standard circuits is fantastic for their careers. I mean, not many people can say that they've been able to do that, and for their learning curve, it's going to be absolutely crucial. But number one is the spotlight on them, the eyeballs. Obviously, the teams are going to be surrounding them, not only from their participation with them, with the liveries, with the support to the drivers, but also being with them on the same race weekends. They're going to be able to do so much more media with the drivers and work with them in whatever way that they are going to support them from a driving perspective. So all around, it's fantastic news for F1 Academy, but for women's sports as well.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Well, before we get the second part of qualifying underway, Abby Pulling, who has just qualified P2 for race 1, we caught up with her about her qualifying.
How I prepare for qualifying is I go through the data with my engineer, do some visualization, so I'll sit looking like a bit of an idiot, doing some laps in my head, and then yeah, just getting in the zone. I do a lot of boxing, shadow boxing, just to get myself pumped up and ready for an intense 15 to 30 minutes.
Well, that was Abby Pulling giving us an insight into what gave her front row on the grid. Did you ever have any pre-qualifying rituals, Naomi?
So I was actually having a bit of a debate in the paddock earlier with a couple of drivers on what their favorite part of the race weekend was, and genuinely qualifying was not my favorite. It was, I used to put so much pressure on myself, so I used to do anything I possibly could to just relieve that pressure. A lot of that had to do with, you know, putting a headset on, listening to some music, avoiding people. Visualization, that's a tough word to get your tongue around. Visualization is a very important thing to do, and it's something that I used to do, sit in the car just before you go out, get 100% focused, thinking of every single corner. It's a technique that I thought always worked. And then obviously I would have a few little superstitious things that I won't bore you with.
I'm sure there's a podcast in that now, I'm sure. As they head out then, all 15 cars back out then for qualifying, all on some new fresh Pirelli tyres by the looks of things. You can still see the white sticker markings on them. Jess Hawkins continues to watch on. And once again, I suppose same as normal, but they've learned already quite a lot, haven't they, just from a first 15-minute session in qualifying. We've had the practice as well, but this is exactly how the track is. We've seen the characteristics change quite a lot in the Formula 1 qualifying. Do you think it'll ramp up for F1 Academy as we head into the second part of qualifying now?
It probably will, but I think it's a great format to be able to have that 5-minute break, slightly similar actually to the F1 qualifying where they have 3 parts, but here you have a proper break. You can see even, you know, with Chloe saying, you know, probably turn 19 is where she got her lap time deleted initially. All those things you can think about, you can hone it in. It's a chance to have a second attempt at which you probably weren't able to achieve in the first part of qualifying. And, you know, this is a track that does require so much detail and finesse because it is so technical. So every lap out there that they can get, they're just going to be improving. So it is fantastic for them to have those 5 minutes. I'm sure they've had like a little conversation with their engineers as well. You know, we heard earlier, I think it was Abby Pulling's engineer saying she was losing 2/10 in the first sector, 2/10 in the second sector. And, you know, those 2/10 in each sector sound just like numbers, but with all the data that they have from previous sessions, she'll know exactly where those parts of the lap are that she's maybe been struggling a little bit. They will be able to go through data quite quickly as well. The engineers will be able to tell them exactly where they're losing that time. So it's a great reset. Go back out there. Whatever you couldn't get right, here's another opportunity to get it right.
Absolutely. Well, if you are just joining us, this is the second part of qualifying for F1 Academy. We've had the first 15 minutes, which set the grid for race 1 and race 2, and now we have another 15-minute session getting ready for the third race for setting that grid. With 12.5 minutes left on the clock, let's check in with Lola Loversboss. And they're making their way into the pit lane for a quick formation lap as they make their way around, but then heading back in all one by one, so a little breather before they then find their way onto the track once more and find their form and slot in to their grid positions. But this F1 Academy, a brand new stellar project from Formula 1 to develop and prepare female talent to progress through to the higher levels of motorsport competition, both on and off track. So quick changes there to the tyres, having a check of the pressures and the temperature. So good to see that being done. It's been a really competitive year actually, Naomi. 11 out of the 15 drivers have stood on the podium. 8 out of 15 drivers have won a race. But for Marta Garcia, a 48-point gap she comes into this final round with. That is stellar.
It is fantastic, and it's great to see that there have been so many different drivers on the podium. It means that there's quite a lot of talent right across the grid. But, you know, Marta's had a stellar performance. You know, I remember her first year in W Series, she was absolutely fantastic. The second year, she had a bit of a dip. She was struggling with some things in her, you know, personally that were affecting her performance. And then she managed to work on those things, come back in her third year of W Series and start to build forwards from where she'd come from. And she'd had some really great highlight moments. And then I'm just happy to see her, you know, where she deserves to be. She's a quick driver. She's very dedicated to what she does. And I'm sure that she's going to have a really bright future. And, you know, I think it's almost a bit of a bittersweet moment. If she does win this weekend, she doesn't come back into, you know, F1 Academy next year to take advantage of all those fantastic things that are happening for these drivers next year with the access to the teams and that fantastic F1 calendar. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure there's going to be support from F1 Academy. I'm not sure to what capacity just yet for her to move forward and do something spectacular going forward.
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned to the F1 Academy websites and socials to see what happens post-season for our champion. We just saw there Charlotte Phelps, the lead female engineer on Amelie de Hoos's car down at MP Motorsport, just checking on how Amelie is getting on. She's currently down in the in 8th in the drivers' standings. A great breakthrough win earlier on in the year at the Circuit de Barcelona. Pole position followed up by the win in race 1, which is fantastic to see. Hasn't quite gone the way so far. She's had some consistent results, got back on the podium in Zandvoort, but Paul Ricard was a pointless running for the Dutch woman. We're hoping to get back into the points for this weekend. Okay. Back on to the track then, the two Premers close together coming through turns 1 and 2. And you mentioned, Naomi, teammates working together. There are three cars per team. How can two drivers work together on a track at the same time?
Well, it's true, there are 3 of them, but, you know, we've got a 15-minute session, and as you can see, the times were constantly tumbling, but also it wasn't necessarily the last lap that counted. So they've got enough opportunity time-wise to give each other a run, but obviously, you know, in Formula 1 you've got DRS, in this championship you don't, but what you can do is have your teammates drive in front of you just like these two are doing and punching a hole in the air for you. That'll make a huge difference. If you can work together in that way, it's better for the team, it's better for your opportunities as well, but obviously there's going to be a conversation about who gets the first run, who gets the second run, and who gets that advantage in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. We should mention the team's standings as well. That is still very much to be decided. MP Motorsport currently lead that with 23 points the gap over Prema Racing, so that is still to be fought over as much as the driver's title is. ART in 3rd, then come Rodin, Carlin and Campos, the 5 teams that make up the F1 Academy Series, and 4 out of the 5 teams have won a race. Every team has stood on the podium, including this woman here, Lena Buller, the Swiss racer. 2 wins, a pole position, and a further 11 podiums to her name as well. And sadly, she won't be able to come back into the series next year because she's hit the age limit and gone above it. She turned 26 this year, so she will not be able to return. But what a fantastic first and last series it would have been for her. Let's see how she gets on, still with the title very much in her sight. Nerea Marti heads downhill. It's a bit of there's a lot of blind corners around this track, isn't there? You've got the sort of blind crest that feeds over turn 10, and even coming through turn 1, it's a bit of a blind entry to the left-hander.
Yeah, turn 1 is especially, I mean, from the simulator, from what I experienced, is such a tricky one. 1, because you can't exactly pinpoint where the apex is, but 2, because you've got that uphill run into turn 1. If you brake slightly too early, it does cost you almost double because you're going uphill. So turn 1 is a really tricky one. You've got to hit that apex as perfectly as you can. Obviously on the run on the exit you want, you know, it's quite a fast sweeping section, so you've got to have a great exit out of there to stand a chance to do well on the lap. But that's probably the trickiest one. 10-10 is slightly blind, but it's almost a little bit easier. The only thing you've got to watch out there for more is the track limits topic that we keep talking about.
Yeah, Marty just finding quite a lot of extra track coming through turn 12. It's given her a bit of time as well. But turn 12 is not one that they are majorly watching. It's 9, 15, 19 and 20, but we'll keep an eye on the race control messages that come through on our screens in the commentary box. But Marty then, fastest of anybody at the moment in the middle sector, but these are the first proper lap times being set in this second qualifying session. The two Countesses will come across the line, 1 and 2. Marty finds the top of the timing screens with a 2:08.9. Lovenfoss behind her, a 2:09.0, so not a lot between them. Maite Cáceres about 6/10 behind in the third of the Camposes, and she comes across the line in third. So still waiting for some times. Bustamante has found a lot of time in that first sector, fastest of anybody, but it's Marta Garcia who is very, very quick. Purple middle sector as well, so to be expected from our leader in the championship. What can Al-Khabaisi do? Hamda Al-Khabaisi, she comes across the line and she goes fastest with a 2:08.6, but is immediately displaced by Abby Pulling. Lena Buller has got up to second, times changing all the time with just 5.5 minutes left of this second qualifying that sets the grid for race number 3. Here come two of the Premas. Garcia across the line in third. Bustamante comes across the line in fifth. It is nip and tuck between some of these drivers, Naomi.
It absolutely is, and I can't imagine right now how high the pressure is out there. Obviously, for some of them there's more to gain, for some of them there's more to lose, but at the end of the day, the whole season is all about progress. These drivers came into the championship early in the year, and they've all had a lot of time to get themselves dialed in, but obviously every race you're progressing, you're getting more comfortable with the car, you're getting more comfortable with your team, and it all comes down to this moment. This is the last qualifying session of the season, and they'll all be thinking about, this is the final opportunity to show what I can do, to prove myself when I'm looking for sponsors, when I'm going out there to prepare myself for next season, to be able to say, this is where I ended the season, this is what I can do. That's going to be on their minds right now.
Yeah, I mean, the weekend goes so quickly already. We've done 2 practices and we'll finish qualifying. Then all that's ahead of us is the races. So the track action just gets absolutely swallowed up so quickly. So they've got to make the most of every time they are out on this 5.5 kilometre, 3.4 mile track. Marty once again out on track. Personal best in the first and the middle sector. What she got in the final sector as she comes across the line, it's not as much as she needs. She's still in, where did Marty? It's 6th for Marty in the end. Bula's found time though in the middle sector. Edgar fastest in the first sector. Jess Edgar once again might prove a thorn in the side. Garcia though at the moment, who is our title leader, she's in third and needs to find some more time if she wants to secure back-to-back pole positions, but Edgar is looking the quickest on track at the moment. Bula round the final corner into the sunshine and across the line for Lena Buller. Well, one final corner I should say. Bit of a lock-up for Buller, one final corner, then she comes across the line. Lena Buller losing a little bit of time in that final sector, but still managing to improve overall, over 0.5 of a second, a 2:08.3 for Buller, who takes provisional pole for race 3. Marta Garcia can't quite pip her title rival. She has to settle for second. Pulling still in third. Hamda Al-Khabaisi in fourth, over 2.5 back at the moment, but she's finding a little bit of time, or needs to find a little bit more time.
Nerea Marti also on a flyover lap right now. So far, purple sector 1. I think she's about to complete sector 2 in a few seconds, and we'll see if she's challenging for that provisional pole position. But Edgar there takes the provisional pole position by almost 0.2 of a second to Lena Buller. So fantastic for her. She must be really feeling the track out there today.
Jess Edgar has been flying for most of the day, and you can hear it before you see it almost for Nerea Marti locking up that front left. She has absolutely been hounding that front left tyre all weekend long so far, not giving it an inch, but it's Edgar now who is fastest, a 2:08.125. That's provisional pole for race 3 for F1 Academy. Then comes Lena Buller. Marta Garcia is third. Pulling, Chong the top 5. Nerea Marti is the Spaniard at the wheel of the #1 Campos round the final corner. What's she got? She's currently down in 7th. Can she find time? Yes, she can. Marti to the top of the timing screens, takes provisional pole despite the lockup. It's a 2:08.0 for Nerea Marti, ahead of Edgar, Buller, Garcia, Pulling, Chong, Handa Alcabasi, Bustamante, Amelie de Hoos and Lola Lovenfoss, the top 10 as it currently stands, but lap times are still coming. Jess Edgar finding more time, as is Marta Garcia. But what has Abby Pulling got with just over a minute and a half left on the clock? Into the sunlight, round turn 19. One more corner, get the braking zone right. Little bit bumpy over the rumble strips, keep it within track limits. She does so, Pulling to the line, currently 6th. That becomes 4th. What has Bula got? She crosses the line and she can't find the time. She stays in 3rd. Grant heads up into 10th. But it's all eyes on Marta Garcia, our title leader, as she takes provisional pole for race 3 in F1 Academy, a 2:08.0, less than half a tenth between her and Nerea Marti. But I mentioned Jess Edgar was looking fast. Once again, she's fastest of anybody in the first sector. It's a personal best in the middle sector, round the final corner for the Roden Carlin driver. What can she do? She's got nothing to lose. She's not in the title fight. It's not pole, but it's close. It's 3rd for Jess Edgar, just over half a tenth of a second. How is that for a top 3 split?
Absolutely incredible, so tight between the top 3. I was just watching the timings out there, and Marta Garcia was giving away 0.2 of a second to Jess Edgar in the first sector, and Jess Edgar was giving those 0.2 back to Marta Garcia in the second sector. So the both of them, if they can just tidy up their sectors out there, you could see them being even quicker than that. They could even put 0.2 of a second or more on their laps there, and they've still got an opportunity with one more lap out there to tidy up their laps and, you know, still fight for that pole position.
We just saw team principal there, Rene Rosin, watching on from the pit lane, seeing a Prema on the top step for the time being, but Edgar's not done yet. She's finding more time. Nerea Marti has taken the checkered flag. She will not be able to improve her lap time. Lola Lovenfoss also taking the checkered flag, down in 11th, but Edgar purple in sector 1. Could Edgar do it with a last gasp attempt? Has she got enough left in these tyres? Down the back straights, she's fastest of anybody who can have another go. Quick look on the timing screens. Nobody else is really able to match her as it currently stands. Could Jess Edgar be looking at her first pole position in F1 Academy?
She absolutely can. This is not going to be good news for Marta Garcia or Nerea Marti, because they both seem to have abandoned the laps that they're on, and therefore they're going to have to settle the times that they've got on the board right now. So, oh, there you go. Jess Edgar also seems to have pulled out of her lap in sector 2. So this might be your top 3, ladies and gentlemen.
It might mean she's lost a lot of time in that middle sector. Has she bailed out of it? It does look like she's still carrying a little bit of speed though, but let's just wait and see what she's got round the last couple of corners. Nobody else really improving. Bula improved her time, stays in 4th. One final corner then for Jess Edgar. Can she find the time? Can she find the pole on her last gasp attempt? She can! Jess Edgar takes pole position for race 3 in F1 Academy. Her first pole position in the series. Stephanie Carlin watching on with tears in her eyes. Fantastic. Lost a bit of time in the middle sector, but kept in it till the bitter end and was rewarded with pole by half a tenth of a second.
Yeah, she actually had a slower sector 2 and a slower sector 3 than on a previous lap. So she must have pulled out an incredible sector 1 there. She's been quite dominant in that sector this whole session long, actually. And you can see she's got a quicker time than anyone in the first sector on that lap there.
Fantastic work from Jess Edgar, who pips Marta Garcia, our leader in the title. Picked up a couple of points for pole position for race 1. Doesn't get it for race 3. So those points go to Jess Edgar, but Garcia still able to start on the front row, so it's looking good for her. Marti 3rd, Bula Pulling, then comes Hamda Alcabasi in 6th, Chong, De Hoos, Bustamante, Grant, the top 10. But last time we did the order, there was a few track limits violations, so we'll just hold our breath for the slight time being. Bustamante has just had a lap time deleted, so we'll wait and see where that drops her down. But I think Jess Edgar should be safe. That was a phenomenal lap, but still, it's not pole, but Marta Garcia will start on the front row for the big points-paying races, for race 1 and race 3, which is really all she needs to do.
And it's great news for Marta Garcia, given the fact that, you know, her title contender Lena Bühler is starting behind her for both of those races. So that's a great start to the weekend for Marta. Lena's obviously going to be still pushing and fighting out there to do what she can this weekend so far. But I also want to say Hamda Al-Khabaisi had a much better performance in Q2 than she did in Q1. And I don't know if that was because she maybe had lost the time due to track limits in the first session, but, you know, she was almost a second off in qualifying 1. She's brought that right down to 4/10 in the session.
You are on pole position. Wow, what a lap. Fantastic job. Pole position. Yes, did you hear me? You're on pole position.
Did she hear them? We don't know. No response from Jess Edgar. She is a bit of a quieter character, but her first pole, I'm sure when she gets out of the car, there'll be a wry smile there from the 18-year-old who resides in Cumbria, racing in the Bloods as well. Her cousin, Johnny, racing in FIA Formula 3 this year. And this was another look at that phenomenal lap from Jess Edgar, hounding the car now. You can see the car control and how much she's making that steering wheel work for her.
Yeah, you could really see that she just really wanted it. I mean, she kept going right till the bitter end, and it all's paid off because she's had her first pole position of the season right when it mattered. This was her last opportunity to do that, and she's done it. It's a fantastic job from her. You can see how happy the whole team is for her to achieve that. So I think she's going to be a very happy driver.
And I think she's now being told and reassured, and perhaps a little bit emotional at that as well. So I think you can see there the emotion on Jess Edgar's face through the visor. That's fantastic to see just what that means to her. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's no mean feat. I mean, of course, you know, there's a lot of pressure on these drivers' shoulders this weekend. You know, they're driving in front of some of their idols, the big boys. You know, all the teams are watching them, and they're all fighting for positions with those teams next season. To be able to do that is going to mean so much to her, and, you know, hats off for her to have been able to do that.
Absolutely. Well, the title leader, Marta Garcia, will be starting right alongside her. So that's the end of qualifying 2 then. This sets the grid for our 3rd race on Sunday, which Jess Edgar will start from pole position, her first pole in the F1 Academy Series. In front of Marta Garcia, Nerea Marti in 3rd, Lena Bühler, Abby pulling the top 5, Hamda Al-Khabaisi, the 3rd of our title rivals, in 6th. Bühler, the other one, up in 4th. Chong, De Host, Bustamante, Chloe Grant rounds out the top 10. Lola Lowenvoss was 11th in front of Hamda Al-Khabaisi. Maite Cáceres 13th in front of Megan Gilkes, and Carrie Schreiner will line up 15th and last for race 3 on Sunday. Well, what beautiful scenes to leave you with here in Kota. My thanks to
What an absolutely fantastic effort. Late on by Jessica Edgar. She's been on it all weekend. She's quickest in the 2nd practice session this morning, and then right at the last, off the championship leader, snatching pole position for that 3rd race. So 3 to go with regards to Marta Garcia, because she picked up 2 points for pole position. In race 1 tomorrow, she needs to finish 4th, unless her nearest rival, Lena Bühler, gets the fastest lap, in which case she'll need to finish 3rd and the championship will be hers. The 2nd race is from 9:15 and the 3rd race on Sunday from 3:25. We're watching that alongside me. That's a breathless finish there, Jensen.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the first qualifying session was close, but the second one was the good one. And it's not easy round here at that time of night because the sun's in your face for half the track. And there was, what, 1/10 between the top 3. So, no, fantastic.
I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, she said, you could hear it over team radio there, and a race engineer saying, look, you've been on it, don't leave anything behind. She missed it with her penultimate lap, very, very close it was, but then took everybody by surprise, and as you said, in and out of the shadows with the sun low in the sky. It was a terrific effort.
Yeah, and it's really, it's so different to an F1 car around here. They don't have so much power, so you have to be spot on every single corner around here, and she got it together, and that was a great lap. But Garcia is obviously the one to beat. She's first You know, she was first in the first part of qualifying for race 1, and she's second for race 3. So, yeah, she's the one to beat, but I'm really looking forward to this race. And this is the first time they've got to race in front of Formula 1 and in front of the Formula 1 fans. So there's a lot of pressure on them this weekend.
Yeah, of course. Jessica Edgar, for her, it's the first time they've been live, as you said, live cameras at an F1 weekend, lots of eyeballs on it, and then to pull it out the last, that's her first pole position of the year. That for her, that's a huge stepping stone.
Well, you could see the emotion on her face when she came in. She was quiet on the radio. I don't know if the radio was working or not, but quiet on the radio and came and just sat in the car, and it hits you hard, because wherever you are in the world and you're racing and you put it on pole, it's great. But when you drive down this pit lane and you drive past all the F1 teams, it's something different altogether. So fair play, congratulations to her.
Let's bring Naomi in straight out of comms. Well done.
Hello, Jensen. How are you?
What an end.
Where are your boots?
Come in the middle.
Yeah, you're all set there. No? But what amazing, wasn't it? Great end.
A lot of action out there, and it just the times kept tumbling, and fantastic from Jess Edgar out there to just keep pushing right till the bitter end to get her first pole position of the season. I think that's really exciting for her.
Well, that's exactly the point we're making. Big stepping stone, first pole with all the eyeballs of the word on her, because it's the first time we've seen some live racing this year.
Yeah, it's huge, and you could see the emotion from her in her helmet there. I think you can't underestimate how much this means to these drivers. Some of them have been out of racing seats for quite some time, and to be racing on the F1 calendar for the first time ever for some of them, and then to be putting the car in pole position, that must mean so much.
No, I mean, you talked about it there. I think we've had 11 drivers, haven't we, that have had podiums this year. Of the 15,
yes.
8 have been race winners. And we looked at the top 3, separated by less than 1/10 of a second. That's how tight it is. Bearing in mind, these cars are, well, they're equivalent of F4 cars, aren't they? They're about 35 seconds slower than what we saw from the F1 cars today. Yeah. It just shows you it's a really competitive series by the looks of things.
It's super tight. I mean, don't forget, it's a 5.5 kilometer track with 20 corners. So for the difference to be that small means that the competition is obviously very tight. And as you say, we've had so many different people on the podium, so many drivers on the podium, and so many different race winners as well. So hopefully we'll get some really exciting racing tomorrow, Simon.
Well, I mean, that was it. I mean, the fact that Marta Garcia, as we said, she's been the class of the field. There's no doubt about it this year. Jensen, we were talking about it there. She had the second pole position snatched away from her. It means that 4th good enough tomorrow, unless her nearest rival gets the fastest lap.
I cannot wait to see her fighting them off. But the thing is, she's got 3 races to do it, hasn't she? So it's amazing for her, to be in that position. She can come in and have fun, when she's racing. The other guys are under pressure, whereas she's not under pressure at all. It's a great position to be in.
Here she comes. Right now, yeah?
Here she is.
Here she is.
Marta,
come on in.
Come join us.
Well, congratulations. 1 pole. So another 2 points. 4th is good enough, unless your nearest rival, as we were just talking about, gets the fastest lap in that first race. It's nearly there, isn't it?
I mean, yeah. Let's see. I don't want to say too much, though. But yeah, it's been a good qualifying. Shame for that P1 pole on that second quali, but I think it was okay. Really close. And just hoping for tomorrow, first race, try to do as much as I can, and then try to get the championship win.
How challenging was it out there? Because you guys obviously had practice very early this morning. The temperature's a lot hotter. The F1 cars have been out there, more grip on the track. How much of a difference did you feel in the car?
I mean, it's much more grippy right now than it was in the morning when we were at 8:15. Was so much dust. So yeah, quite much more grippy thanks to the F1 cars. And yeah, that's basically it.
I'm going to ask you a general question, because I love that you're disappointed with not getting the second pole position. True racing driver, I love that. How has it been this year? This is the first race that I've watched, or first qualifying, and it's great to see how competitive it is. We spoke to Susie earlier, and she said the start of the year there's quite big gaps, and now it seems very competitive. Are you enjoying this championship? Is it doing what you hoped it would for you?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, as you said, Susie knows also, in the first races there was a bit of a gap between all of the drivers. But now, as you can see, it's really close. Like, the pole was super close, less than 1/10. And yeah, I'm enjoying a lot F1 Academy. I think it's great for the young women as well that want to get into single-seaters, to try to experiment, try to work also with those teams like Prema, Campos, like F2, F3 teams. And I think they are doing great. And they are also doing some other stuff like Discover Your Drive and the Champions of the Future. So I think it's going in the right direction.
How much do you want to win this championship this weekend? Because it's obviously a little bit bittersweet. We didn't get to watch the whole season on live television like we do this weekend, but the drivers are going to race 7 races with F1 next year. and with the support of the teams in this paddock, if you win this weekend, you're not allowed to come back. How does that, it must be bittersweet a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's true actually, because this year we didn't get broadcasted, but I think at the end of the day, what I got is experience, track time, and so many other things. But yeah, obviously, it would have been better if it would have been already this year, but I'm happy that the young girls and every other girls racing are going to get it next year.
But I think we're going to bring in for a live presentation of the pole position for the first race. Let's bring in Esteban Ocon and Mario Isola from Pirelli. Come on in, and if you could, present Marta with yet another pole position award. Well done. Coming into the middle.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good luck. Bravo.
There we go.
Say hi.
Hi, Esteban. How you doing? Yeah, we're all right here.
It's all happening here, isn't it?
We'll step out of the way for the photographers. And then one more, I think, to Marta just before she goes off. Maybe we can have a word with Jessica, shall we?
Yeah, and this is fantastic to see. I mean, this means a lot to these young drivers, that these F1 drivers are supporting them in these moments. This is what's going to make the difference. People are going to see this online. People are going to be watching this moment. And we need eyeballs on women's sport. There you go.
We do. Let's
you were
bring
presenting
Jessica
a
in
tire
as well.
a couple of weeks ago.
I'm wandering randomly over here. Congratulations. What a brilliant. Can I just bring you in, Jessica? That was, I mean, you were on it all day, quickest in the opening practice session well, today, and then to take that right at the end. We just talked to Marta, who's disappeared off just to do her debrief. But how special was that?
Yeah, it was really special because usually quali isn't my strongest part, and I just put a lap together and was pole, so I'm really happy.
Excellent. Well, the racing is obviously you think it's your strength, so you put yourself in a great position. Turn one here is always a lot of fun. Staying out of trouble is key, but I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you go at it tomorrow. This is such a fun track to race on. Good in qualifying, but the racing here is fantastic. And in the cars that you're racing, similar to an F4 car, you're going to be wheel to wheel for the whole race. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the races. I think it'll be really close. We're all quite close on time, so hopefully it'll be good racing.
Congratulations.
Well, it's your first pole position of the season, and what a great place and time to do it. How much of that has come down to hard work? Because obviously this whole season everybody has been progressing towards this moment. How much hard work did it take to get this pole position today?
Oh yeah, it took a lot of hard work. Practicing quali sims on the simulator back at Carlin. And we've been working really hard on it because that's where I struggle the most. So yeah, a lot of hard work has gone in from me and all of my team as well.
Quick one, has the phone been ringing off the hook? I mean, all weekend, this is the first time you've got to perform live, I suppose, in front of family and friends. Are they watching it from here? Have you got family and friends over here?
Yeah, they've all been watching me. My brother's on a flight to Italy, so he missed my qualifying, but he's been watching my practices, so.
Well done today. Best of luck for the races this weekend. Fantastic. That was real drama late on. Well done. Next up is Ted with the notebook, looking back on F1's qualifying, which, of course, Charles Leclerc took pole position. Thanks to Naomi. Thanks to Jensen. Thanks to you for watching at home. But there we go. Dramatic end. Marta Garcia on pole position for the first race tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bright and breezy for us here in Austin, but in the afternoon for you back in the UK. We'll see you in a bit.